She moved cautiously forward, weaving her way through the maze of shattered equipment and broken walkways. The observatory's interior was a labyrinth of corridors and staircases, each one leading deeper into the structure's darkened heart. Rusted signs hung crookedly from the walls, their inscriptions faded and barely legible. Central lens array, holographic projection chamber, data storage unit. As she passed each sign, a shiver ran down her spine. What had happened here? What catastrophe had shattered this place, leaving it in such a state of disrepair? And more importantly, why had the labyrinth chosen to send her here? The watch in her hand gave a soft, almost plaintive tick, its hands spinning wildly for a moment before freezing in place. Luna glanced down at it, frowning. The watch's behavior was becoming increasingly erratic the deeper she ventured into the observatory, as if the temporal distortions of this place were interfering with its already tenuous connection to reality. Great, she muttered, tucking the watch back into her pocket. Just great. Ahead, a faint light glimmered in the darkness, a pale, wavering glow that seemed to pulse in time with the erratic beat of her heart. Luna hesitated, her pulse quickening. The observatory was supposed to be abandoned, just a ruined shell of its former self. So what was that light? Keeping her movements slow and quiet, she crept forward, careful to avoid the loose shards of glass and metal that littered the floor. As she drew closer, the light grew stronger, casting long, wavering shadows across the walls. She turned a corner, and her breath caught in her throat. The room before her was filled with a dense, pulsating web of energy, a tangled lattice of glowing threads that wove through the air like the strands of a spider's web. Each thread glowed with a soft, unearthly light, shifting and changing colors in a mesmerizing display of hues. The latticework seemed to hum softly, vibrating with a strange, almost musical frequency that resonated deep within her chest. The monitor flickered again, the words shifting and changing. Are you lost? A chill ran down her spine, and she took an involuntary step back. This wasn't just a system malfunction. Someone was communicating with her. What is this place? She whispered, not really expecting an answer. But to her surprise, the screen flickered again, more text appearing in quick succession. This place is broken, shattered, fractured. Each word seemed to echo in the air, the letters twisting and warping as if struggling to hold their shape. You are not supposed to be here. Luna swallowed hard, her mind racing. The message felt fragmented, incomplete, like a voice calling out from the depths of a dream, barely clinging to coherence. But there was an intelligence behind it, a consciousness trying desperately to reach her. She began, but before she could finish, the screen blinked out, plunging the room into darkness. For a long moment, she stood frozen, her heart hammering in her chest. Then slowly, the screens around her began to flicker to life one by one. And as they did, a single word appeared on each of them, repeated over and over. Run! The room seemed to shudder, the walls vibrating with a low, menacing hum. Luna took a step back, her pulse racing. Something was coming, something she didn't understand, something that shouldn't be here. Without waiting to see what it was, she turned and ran, her footsteps echoing through the darkened corridors of the shattered observatory. Luna's footsteps thundered down the darkened corridors, each echo carrying a sense of urgency and trepidation. The walls shuddered violently, and the machinery that lined the observatory seemed to come alive with the hum of unseen power. Bright blue and crimson lights flickered erratically, casting strange, fractured shadows that seemed to shift and twist, as if the darkness itself was stirring. A high-pitched whine cut through the air and Luna skidded to a halt, her breath caught in her throat. Ahead of her, the corridor split into two paths, one dark and ominous, leading into the heart of the shattered facility, and the other, glowing faintly with an eerie greenish hue. She hesitated for a split second, scanning each path. "Run!" The words still echoed in her mind, but her instinct screamed that she needed more than speed. She needed a plan. "Think, Luna, think," she whispered, forcing herself to calm down, to push past the apprehension. She chose the path bathed in green light, sprinting forward. As she rounded the corner, she nearly collided with a massive metallic figure that loomed before her. It was humanoid, but its body was built from sleek metal plating, glowing circuits running like veins beneath its surface. Its eyes, cold white lights, locked onto her. "Identify!" it demanded in a voice that reverberated with mechanical authority. Luna stumbled back, her pulse spiking. This wasn't a simple guard drone, it was something more advanced, more sentient. It shifted, and she caught sight of a sigil etched onto its shoulder. A broken crescent moon. A symbol she recognized. It belonged to the Sentinels of the Veil, a faction she thought long extinct, destroyed in the war that ravaged this world. I'm just, she stammered, but the machine tilted its head, assessing her. "Luna, designation unauthorized, threat level moderate," it stated, and then, without warning, it raised an arm, a beam of searing energy forming at its palm. Luna dropped to the ground, rolling to the side as the beam blasted a crater into the wall behind her. She scrambled to her feet, her gaze darting around frantically. The machine took a step forward, gears and circuits whirring ominously. She needed to disable it, but how? As it charged another shot, she spotted a panel on its chest, faintly glowing, a control node. Heart hammering, Luna sprang forward, ducking under its outstretched arm, and slammed her palm against the node. There was a brief flash of light, and then the machine froze, its body locking in place. Luna stumbled back, breathing hard, eyes wide as the beam of energy dissipated harmlessly. "System override," a soft feminine voice murmured from the machine's speakers. "Identification confirmed. Welcome, Operative Luna." Luna blinked in shock. "Operative?" "Unit VE-13, the voice continued, its tone shifting from cold to almost familiar. "I have been waiting for your arrival." Luna stepped back, shaking her head. "You know who I am, but how?" "There is no time. The veil is collapsing," the voice said urgently. "You must reach the core node before the convergence." "The convergence? What?" Luna began, but the machine's eyes flared bright white, and then it collapsed, its circuits going dark. The control node fell silent. Luna stared at the now lifeless figure, confusion and a strange sense of recognition warring within her. The Veil. She hadn't heard that name in years, not since the fall of the observatory, not since the world shifted and split. But the Sentinels of the Veil were gone, weren't they? She glanced around, half expecting more of the machines to emerge from the shadows, but the corridor remained empty. Swallowing hard, she turned away, her thoughts racing. What did the machine mean by convergence? Why was she being called operative? Answers. I need answers, she murmured, pushing herself onward. She continued deeper into the labyrinthine hallways, the green glow giving way to a deep blue as the architecture shifted. Pipes lined the walls, humming softly, and above her, transparent tubes carried streams of bioluminescent liquid, light coursing like veins of a sleeping beast. That's when she heard it. A faint, almost melodic hum, like a song played on the strings of a shattered world. She followed the sound, her steps slowing as she approached a vast chamber. At the center, suspended in a sphere of fractured light, was a figure. No, a person. A man, floating weightlessly, his body entangled in the glowing threads that seemed to bind him like a prisoner. His face was obscured by a dark visor, and around him, the air shimmered with digital static. Luna's breath caught. Was this another sentinel? Or something else entirely? Who are you? She called out softly. her voice barely more than a whisper. The figure didn't respond. Instead, the threads pulsed, and for a split second, Luna saw flashes, images and memories that weren't her own. Cities burning, a sky split by a black gaping void, the observatory, whole and shining, and then a name. Calum, Luna whispered, the word sending a shiver down her spine. The man's head snapped up, and the digital static around him flared, distorting the air. His gaze locked onto her, piercing through the visor, and in that moment, Luna felt something stir, something ancient and powerful, hidden deep within the core of this place. "I didn't think they'd send you," he said, his voice low, almost relieved. Luna took a step back, heart racing. "You know me?" "I should," he replied, a wry smile curving his lips. "After all, we built this place together." Luna shook her head. "No, I don't. There's no time for that." His expression turned serious. "Listen to me. The veil is failing. The convergence will happen soon, and when it does," the walls shuddered, the lights flickering wildly. Luna stumbled, bracing herself as a low, rumbling growl reverberated through the structure. The man's eyes widened behind his visor. "Run!" he shouted. "Find the core if you don't stop it." But his words were drowned out as the chamber erupted in a blinding flash of light, and Luna was thrown backward, the world spinning around her. When the light faded, the chamber was empty. The man, Calum, was gone. The threads that had bound him severed and sparking. "No!" Luna breathed, scrambling to her feet. "No! No! No!" But there was no sign of him. Only the fading hum of power and the growing sense of urgency clawing at her gut. She turned and ran, her mind racing. Whoever he was, whatever he knew, it was gone. But his warning rang in her ears. The core, the convergence. If she didn't reach it in time,